Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of Telco CyberTalk, where industry experts gather to discuss the current cybersecurity and critical business issues faced by communication service providers.
Hello, this is Michael Schachter, Director of Product Marketing at Allot, which is a company that provides network intelligence and security solutions for communication service providers and enterprises around the world. And joining me today on this episode of Telco CyberTalk Podcast is Moti Goldshtein, the AVP of Smart Product Management at Allot. Moti, thank you for joining us today on Telco CyberTalk. And tell me, what are you working on these days?
Hi, Michael. Good to be here. Well, we've been very busy with, further enhancing the Allot Smart platform, adapting it to the ongoing challenges that CSP are facing today globally, such as 5G, as we see both standalone and non-standalone deployments, virtualization, cloud, quality of experience, congestion management, service assurance, and network protection. So, they need to do more with less. So we help them with that.
So it sounds like service providers have a lot of work, and it sounds like you have a lot of work.
Yeah.
And one of the topics that you mentioned was QoE, quality of experience. And as you know, we just did an industry survey project with Coleman Parks Research from the UK, and they surveyed on our behalf 100 communication service providers throughout the world, tier one, tier two service providers. And we were asking them about significant network and business issues. And the results, I think, were very interesting and pertinent to what you discussed. According to most of the CSPs, network congestion and quality of experience actually have measurable impact on profitability. And there were some very interesting figures that came out of the survey. For
hmm
example, um, it seems like DDoS attacks or DDoS traffic in the background wastes around 10% of mobile network operators' capacity, even when they're not being attacked. It's just kind of background noise. And if they could give QoE based SLAs to some of their key customers, that could contribute as much as 10% of an increase to the ARPU. And even though that's their understanding, as much as 28% of the CSPs lack real time QoE assurance tools. So they know it's important, they know they could make money from it, but they don't have the tools either to measure it or to impact it if they could measure it. As a result, probably 75% of them are overspending to expand network capacity to overcome congestion when actually there are other things they could be doing. And
Wow.
that's just the tip of the iceberg. And we're about to release the results of this survey. We're going to have a webinar for the public on May 3rd, and you'll be there, I'll be there, and we'll have an expert from Coleman Parks as well. So in the meantime, let's drill down in this podcast episode a little bit deeper into QoE. And from your experience and from managing, our product suite for network intelligence, what are the challenges and maybe the opportunities that MNOs actually have when it comes to end-to-end quality of experience, and especially as we're moving to 5G?
Well, Michael, we are all familiar with the ever-growing demand for traffic, which comes from the ever-growing variety of application and web services we have. And we are also end user, right? So we know how it feels to have low quality of experience, like when you have a low resolution video or it takes long for a website to open up. So we can appreciate the high quality of experience, or QoE as we abbreviate it. But this comes with a great challenge for the CSPs, and just like take an example, mobile network operators, which are in a constant race, I would say, to upgrade their radio access network, as well as the backhauling and core, respectively, and the infrastructure to support those needs. So you need more capacity, more frequency, more cell towers, more. So this comes with a huge investment, both capex and opex, like for run equipment and to operate them, sometimes even to build new towers or to rent. So it's a lot of overhead and expenditures that goes there. And even after all of this is done, in some cases, there are other constraints like, there are spectrum limitations, power over spectrum limitation, municipal permissions for build up, regulations, rights of way. So all of these prohibit run upgrades, right?
So there's a lot of challenge at their side to give us the quality of experience that we expect as almost a God-given right. We all want our videos to fly and our music to play and our virtual
Correct.
reality and so on. So it's a challenge, and we've got tools to help with that. But what about 5G? Isn't that going to solve congestion for everybody by bringing in these, massive pipes and huge capacity?
A good point, Michael. Well, 5G is happening, right? It's I would say a fact, and we see it growing globally in many places, and it will bring new and exciting new cases like gigabit speeds to the UE, low latency, slicing to enable differential services. But having said that, 5G is being deployed gradually. No, just like we said a few seconds before, alongside the existing 4G deployment, which also needs to continue. And what we see in the market is a variety of deployment strategy. Like, for example, we see in the US, let's take, for example, Dish, which builds up a native greenfield 5G standalone core deployment, right? We also see in other places the 5G standalone being built up in parallel to the existing 4G network, which continues to be there and sometimes even to expand. We see a dual mode core approach. We see in many places, actually, this is like the 80% of the growth. We see most operators going through 5G non-standalone, which just the new radio and the 4G core. So we see all of this happening. And bottom line is that we expect that 4G will remain deployed for several, let's say, significant years ahead, while MNOs are building their 5G network. So we will still see congestion hotspot where 5G is not an option due to, as we said before, lack of spectrum resources or coverage issues, different frequencies, indoor penetration, and so on, or technical issues like DSS, meaning dynamic spectrum sharing, which kind of having a higher overhead on the spectrum, so it more, putting stress on the 4G in that sense. And sometimes there are simple commercial issues. Well, not simple, like we are all aware of the CapEx, OpEx investments needed for nationwide 5G coverage. So it's being done gradually, starting with where it's possible and needed and so on. So it will be spread over a long period of time. This is what we estimate. So if you will be using a core-based software solution like those we offer in Allot Smart, the MNOs can add what we call to refer to as virtual capacity to their LTE cells and to prolong their life expectancy with minimal to, let's say, none impact on QoE. So actually, it will free up CapEx and OpEx to enable them to focus the resources in 5G, because you really want to focus on your growth and enable the current deployment and the bread and butter of your business to continue and keep customers happy and keep your customer care, expenses intact, and actually to be able also to add some value added services to your end user, like cybersecurity. But I think we'll keep that for another podcast for now.
Okay, so 5G is coming, and it will certainly help, at least initially, with congestion. But as you point out, 4G is still robust, and in fact, we'll probably be seeing even more stress as companies are focusing on their 5G deployments. So QoE continues to be a challenge, and between you and me, when 5G comes here, if you build it, the services and traffic will come, and we'll eventually
Right.
hit congestion problems there as well. Well, thank you very much, Moti, AVP Smart Product Management at Allot. And you can all look for us at allot.com, ALLOT. CSPs.com. And to learn more about how CSPs view QoE issues today, please be sure to join our May 3rd webinar with Ian Parks of Coleman Parks Research to discuss the survey results, our analysis of the numbers that we learned, and what it means for you, the CSPs, in terms of how you can better provide quality of experience and why it's worth your while, the ROI of QoE. So to get more details, please register on our website for this exciting webinar. Thank you very much, and we look forward to another episode of our podcast. Thank you.
That's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't already, subscribe to this podcast to ensure that you get the next episode of Telco CyberTalk.